The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
And welcome to the K-Files. We have with us this morning Lieutenant Jeff Sherrod. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
A familiar face, but I do want to thank our sponsors first and foremost. Statewide Insurance Group has been with us since the beginning of this program, and so has Barnes Safety and Consulting. Thank you to both of those. And JP will be back next week. He doesn't have COVID. Yay. Yes. We thought he was having a scare, but he has a sinus infection. So he will be back next week with us. And Lieutenant Sherrod was so nice to be with us the whole show this morning. So you are this morning not the guest, you are the co-host. So I know a lot of you are wanting to know, Lynn Keel has been talked about quite a bit on the show. Lieutenant Sherrod was probably nervous watching every single week. What are they going to say to mess my case up? We wouldn't do that.
I know you wouldn't.
So anyway, it's over. It was over very quickly.
It was.
It was held in Greenville, the Pitt County Courthouse. Judge Quentin Sumner. There was a plea deal.
It was.
Okay, and a lot of people are going to say, Lieutenant, a plea deal for a man who did that? Okay, but I can say, and before I was saying the same thing, I have a different perspective now.
Right.
Because he is sick.
He is. He has some health issues.
He couldn't even withstand 2 weeks of this, I don't think. They said, I think the DA said the case would take about 2 weeks.
Right.
And they said he probably couldn't even withstand with the issues that he has.
Right.
A 2-week trial. So that's one thing. And then his age.
Right.
So then get to the chase. Let's talk about what he really got. What was the sentence?
He pled no contest to second-degree murder and no contest to first-degree kidnapping.
Right.
On the second-degree murder, he received 300 as a minimum and 372 as a maximum months. And then on the first-degree murder, he received 92 months and no more than 123 months. So when you combine those two together, his minimum is 32 and a half years in prison.
So 3 decades.
Right.
He's going to be 90-some years old anyway.
If he's lucky to come out of prison, he'll be 90-some years old.
So it's kind of a different perspective. And plus, the defense was having a little bit of a problem because, not the defense. The prosecution was having a little bit of problem because they had some COVID cases with witnesses.
We did. One of the witnesses from Arizona, one of the state troopers from Arizona, his wife contracted COVID, and he was quarantined, and he called that Friday before trial was supposed to start Monday and said he couldn't come. So there was concerns about COVID. There was a large jury pool that we were using out of Pitt County for 300 plus people. They had put a maximum of 55 people at the time as jurors inside the courtroom so that we could try to limit it. But as Mr. Evans alluded to in his speech to the judge, us getting through a 2+ week jury trial without somebody catching COVID would have almost been impossible. So I think that played into why the state also took the plea. But as Mr. Evans said in his statement, we being the state of North Carolina got what we were after because we basically believe with his health conditions and the amount of years he's got that we got a life sentence on Lynn Keel for this trial. Right.
So that was my next question. So you are satisfied, and the sheriff is satisfied with the end result.
When Mr. Evans and them told us about it, Sheriff Stone, myself, we said, look, we're good with this as long as the state's happy and the family's happy. And Mr. Evans had already notified the family. The family came back to Mr. Evans after they thought about it in the same perspective we just explained, where we're basically getting a life sentence. If he comes out of prison 30 years from now, it would shock me, to be honest.
Right.
So everybody was satisfied with what the state had achieved as far as the amount of years were concerned. So everybody was basically in agreement with the terms that this plea arrangement ended up being.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you some video just to kind of show you how how Robert Evans, the prosecutor, thought this played out with Lynn Keel. So Brittany, if you could let us see that now.
You're showing the ones given out in open court are true and accurate?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, the court. This case is about the life and death of Diana. In March of 2019, she was 30. There would have been, had we tried this case, obviously a lot of fact and controversy, but there would have been one fact that would have not been in controversy in this case. And that would be that in March of 2019, her marriage to this defendant was over. He admitted as much in questioning by the Nash County Sheriff's Department. That marriage had lasted nearly 13 years, but she was just days, if not a few weeks, from moving out of his home with her home with him and starting a new life. Judge, had we tried this case, there have been, during the preparation and examination of discovery and discussions about her character and some personal choices that she made in her life that I guess would have suggested that somehow the deterioration of her marriage and even maybe her death had something to do with personal choices she made. I feel compelled to address that as well. I think it's critical to point out that when she came to this country, married to this man, she set out to achieve the American dream, and she worked hard to achieve it. She educated herself, worked hard, she became a nurse, and in 2019, there were tax returns that we examined that showed that she was probably the major breadwinner of this family, earning near a six-figure salary. And yet, all of that hard work and all of that dedication that she exhibited had her living in a house with this man that was basically run down. She had to live knowing the last year or so or two of her life that when she would drive away from her home, her car had a GPS spyware detector on it. She had a house that had little heat. I read part of the report that said she was doing her nails and she went to bed early because she could see her breath in her home because of the coldness in there. She didn't have hot running water in her house with which to take a bath or a shower. But she stayed steadfast. All of that she had to endure in a house with no common amenities that I could detect. And yet, she lived in a house where this defendant had a gun and ammunition collection that we valued between $50,000 and $60,000. She had a gym membership, Judge, and sadly, one of the primary purposes of that membership was that so, from time to time, she could get a hot shower. By all accounts, she was a loving and kind person, a loving and kind friend, and she had an impeccable work ethic at the place that she was employed, the hospital. So it was not surprising that on March the 9th of 2019, when she had not been heard from for some time by either her daughter or her co-workers who were expecting her to go to work, that because of how they knew her, they knew that something was off kilter, which resulted in a call to the Nash County Sheriff's Department asking that there be a welfare check done at her home in Springfield. Deputy Jenkins went to that home on that morning of March the 9th and encountered this defendant, who claimed to not know where she was, that she had gone off somewhere with someone he could not name. But the instincts of the Nash County officer, Deputy Jenkins, knew that something was off kilter because, number one, her car was in the driveway. And repeated calls to her cell phone were going unanswered and going to voicemail automatically. After talking with this man briefly, Jenkins also had the presence of mind to call Nash County Communications and have her phone traced. Signal 7 they called it. And oddly enough, Judge, it pinged right in the area where she lived. The last, ping being at 8:23 a.m. on March the 8th, the day before. And so, armed with that information, he knew that something was not correct, which basically started what we would call a 3 or 4 or 5 day intense investigation. Now, he was questioned 3 or 4 times during that investigation. The deputies and the Nash County authorities began the process of searching the home, searching the couple's vehicles, and talking to others who might have some information about what had happened. Sadly, on March 12th, Diana's body was discovered in Edgecombe County, and the cause of death was multiple and severe blunt force and sharp force trauma. Before the Nash County authorities could then talk to him again after he was notified of his wife's death, he packed up his father's car or truck with canned goods, sleeping bags, and other staples, and drove 1,800 miles nearly across country, being eventually caught in Arizona. So with that background, Judge, I will conclude very briefly with the following. We've been tried over a period of 2 weeks minimum, as best we could have guessed, maybe beyond 2 weeks. And this court and this jury would have heard from multiple witnesses, both civilian and law enforcement. You'd have had evidence from the search of her residence, from the search of the vehicles, including downloaded data from a chip in her vehicle. You would have had forensic evidence presented to the court and the jury, as well as admissions from this defendant, which would have occurred over 3 interviews. We submit, Your Honor, that there would have been proof beyond a reasonable doubt of the following: that on the morning of March 8, 2019, this defendant was observed on the porch with his wife by a witness who was familiar with the area, who had actually been up to the house before and knew of the house because he had gone up there and inquired about a truck for purchase. They were on the porch in a very heated argument. The witness was 99.9% sure that it was Diana and this defendant.
Okay, that's kind of how it was laid out by the prosecution as to what happened. So if you want to see the rest, it is a bit long, so we can't show the rest of it on this program, but we will be showing this in its entirety. So, and we'll put out on Facebook the times that we're going to be showing it. So if you'll watch for that, you'll get to see it all. So don't worry, we didn't cut you right in the middle of it, but that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what happened there. So anyway, we got to go to break.
All right.
And we'll be right back right after this.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Okay, welcome back, and we just showed you some footage of the Lynn Keel trial, the short 45-minute or however long it was
about 50
trial. So I understand, Lieutenant, that it was a very well investigated case.
It was, if you were to continue watching that clip, Mr. Evans even said in his statement to the judge that it was a well investigated case by the Sheriff's Office, which is a reflection of Sheriff Stone and how we work. But I also want to say that not only were we prepared for trial, Mr. Evans' office was definitely ready for trial. He was ready. You saw in that clip, Assistant District Attorney Alicia Slaughter and Randy Hughes, they were also primaries in this case, and they were going to be handling most of the trial. They were well prepared, and you know, in my opinion, the state was definitely ready to go to trial if this plea hadn't worked out. And you know, and by the good work of the men and women at the Sheriff's Office, we were ready as far as presenting this case to to the jurors.
Right. Well, very good. It's always good when it happens that way. It really is. And you know, it's so important, Lieutenant Sherrod, for all the agencies to work together in cases.
It is. Mr. Evans didn't get a chance to speak of that in his statement to the judge, but if it had went to trial, the jurors and the people watching would have definitely saw that we reached out to multi-agencies to help us with this case. One of the big ones was the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles. Scotty Parker is a reserve deputy with the Nash County Sheriff's Office. He's the deputy commissioner with DMV. When we learned that we could get information from Diana's vehicle, we called Scotty, and he had a person in his license and theft agency at the sheriff's office the next morning to assist us, stayed all day with us to make sure we got that information from that vehicle. And just between the people that Sheriff Stone knows as far as partnerships with the state and local and federal agencies that we have, we were able to pick up the phone, Sandra, and call tons of people. I mean, it's so many you can't. I don't want to name them all because I don't want to leave one out.
Right.
But
right.
we called New Hanover County, Moore County, Pitt County, Rocky Mount PD.
Wow.
And they helped us do little small stuff to help us break this
Right.
case. I mean, they weren't here helping us do the investigation part, but Rocky Mount PD helped us do evidence, some of our evidence. I mean, because we had the house locked down for a whole week.
Right.
So when we found a body, that's too much for our people. So we asked them, Edgecombe County, they found a body. Their evidence helped us as well.
Right.
So then when we were diving in the rivers, New Hanover County brought a dive team. Local fire and rescues came and helped us with doing dives for us. Guilford County run some preliminary DNA for us. Moore County helped us with the computer chip. Like I said, license and theft. So, I mean, it was so many agencies that played a small part in this case to help us achieve to what we were able to eventually get a plea deal with Lynn Keel, in this case.
The general public does not know that.
Right.
We are sitting here just waiting for a case, what is taking so long? Because we're impatient. And we're thinking the Nash County Sheriff's Department is just over there investigating. We don't know the magnitude of this.
It is huge. Like I said, and I learned this a long time ago with Scotty Parker, and then when Sheriff Stone came in as the sheriff, him and Scotty, they should be brothers.
Right.
But they're the same exact. You can never have enough contacts or partnerships with other agencies throughout the state and
Sheriff Stone
federally.
is so well connected.
He is.
With all these agencies.
You can call him right now and say, hey, I need to find somebody in Durham County, and he can pick up the phone and call somebody and have him calling you back in just a few minutes. And that's great.
Unbelievable.
It's through the things that we do. I mean, we do a lot of training where we send people at the sheriff's office to all these trainings, and they get to intermingle with these people and meet people that they would have never met if it hadn't been for us going to a training class.
Right.
We go to the Southern Police Institute in Kentucky. Major Misty Strickland just came back from that. Captain Jason Bryant's in it right now. And we send people to the FBI NA Academy. We send people to the AOMP at State University. And when you go to those type of functions, you meet people.
You network.
And you meet people that you may have not thought you ever need.
Yeah.
It's funny that we're talking about this, but when we ended up finding out that Lynn Keel was up in Arizona, we called him and told him, say, hey, he's headed that way. Of course, Ebola had been out all over the state and all the different other states, and they saw him on the interstate. Come to find out that the captain, or I think he's a major, that is over that division in Arizona, went to the FBI National Academy with Sheriff Stone.
Wow.
So when we
Is
get
that
up,
not?
I mean, it's just, you never know where you might need those people, and in this
Right.
case, it just worked out for us.
And not to talk about the relationship y'all have with the federal attorneys.
Right.
That's how, look at the press conference we had a while back with the drugs. Look
Right.
at all the drugs y'all are taking off the street
We are.
on 95 and 64 or wherever. And the relationships you have, it goes all the way up to the federal attorney.
I agree. Our drug guys do a great case, and one thing that I definitely love about Sheriff Stone is that him and Clee Atkinson are like best friends.
Oh, yes.
And that has made Nash and Edgecombe come together like this. They even have it in place now where if something major is happening in Nash County, I call Captain Carlos Williams over in Edgecombe County and say, hey, this is what's going on in Nash. I'm just letting you know in case we need some help. You already know what's happening. And same thing in Edgecombe. When something major is happening over there, Captain Williams calls me on the phone and says, Skeet, look, we got something going on. If I need some help, can you send me some people? And it's that kind of relationship that you need, because if you honestly think that you're going to solve these cases by yourself,
Exactly.
you're sadly mistaken.
Exactly.
Because it takes everybody's input and knowledge of how they do things, and they may do something completely different than you do, but that little bit may help you get to something you need.
But while we're talking about that, to expound on that, not only do they need each other's help within the agencies, they need your help.
Oh, I definitely agree.
The public has to be
Get
involved in these cases. If you see something, say something. Isn't that what y'all
Yes,
say?
ma'am. I mean, the least little bit could help. I mean, you may be at a scene and somebody just says, well, I just saw a blue car. Well, guess what? That may be the suspect's car, and we didn't know that. So if you don't call and tell us that you saw a blue car, we'd be chasing down every car. But if we can narrow it down to a certain color, then we can go to the local businesses or houses and see if they got video, and we can start looking for a blue car.
The least little tip that we think is insignificant could be what they need to break the case. We may say, well, I saw this person lurking around that area, but they didn't look like I'm sure they weren't involved, because they looked like they wouldn't be involved in something like that, so I'm not even going to call. Well, there's your murderer right there, or there's your suspect right there.
Exactly.
So, you must tell. And with the K-Files, we believe, and the number's on the screen at all times, 406-6736, it is completely anonymous, y'all. Completely anonymous. I will not know. Nobody at WHIG will know. This will go directly to law enforcement. Directly to law enforcement. You will get paid. The pot is up to $15,000. Up to $15,000 is what you could get paid. And it will be decided by law enforcement how valuable your tip, which every tip is valuable, but it will be decided how valuable your tip is, as that will be how much you get paid. And the checks are written immediately. Within 48 hours, you will have a check. So that's how it works.
Yep.
That's how it works. That's how simple it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. We're going to go to our last break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some more cases that Nash County is working on right after this.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Okay, and welcome back. We're in the final stretches of the show now. Don't forget, call 406-6736 if you know anything about any case that we are talking about, or any that we have talked about in the past. The least little tip we just discussed could be the one. So we're going to talk about some more cases that Nash County has going on.
We're going to talk about the two unremaining homicides that we have under Sheriff Stone. The first one is Randy Colgrove. Randy was shot and killed outside of his residence in October 2017. It's a case that we continue to follow leads up on.
A well-known barber.
He was. As we discussed before when we highlighted this case, he used to work for the barber that cuts my hair. And so I knew Randy personally. I know his family. I've met with him several times. They understand the position we're in at the sheriff's office with this case, and we're just hoping that with anybody with any kind of leads, we'll just call into the sheriff's office or call the fighting crime hotline number and just give us a tip, and hopefully that tip may push us over the edge.
Right, absolutely.
The next case we're going to talk about that's unsolved is Jaleel Evans. Jaleel Evans was he was reported as a missing person out of Greensboro. A family member went to a family cemetery off of Summerlin Road outside of Castalia and found what they believed to be a body. We responded, and the medical examiners were able to ID that subject as Jaleel Evans, who was the missing person out of Greensboro. That case was just probably about 3 or 4 months ago, was reassigned to Detective Josh Trull, and he's made a tremendous amount of headway in that case. So we're hoping that when we get some evidence back from the lab, that it may point us in a certain direction that we need to go in.
I know you probably can't say this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But Lieutenant Sherrod does not mind telling me no. So that's okay. So why that spot?
I have no idea. We're hoping that we find out it may be something connected to who the possible suspect may be. Is what we're hoping.
Okay.
And that's about all I can say about it.
Right.
But we won't know that until we get some evidence back from the lab that we've sent off to be tested and stuff. So we're just sitting back waiting for that.
Okay. All right.
And the other two things that we have going on are the two we got a call this year from the family of Letitia McNair. She is the girl that went missing out of Rocky Mount back in 2001.
Such a sad case.
That is a sad case. And you and I talked about it. And in this case, I guess it's sad because she was mentally challenged.
Right.
And we talked about on the air before that normally people who are mentally challenged doesn't tend to mess with people.
Right.
But she went missing in Rocky Mount, and it's tough on the family because 6 months after she went missing, her skull was found on a fresh gravesite in a private cemetery off of Browntown Road. So that we responded. We took we collected the skull's evidence, and the medical examiner's office was able to determine that it was Letitia. So the family has to deal with that drama, and knowing the fact that she's deceased and her missing is turned now into a homicide investigation. Rocky Mount PD helped us a lot with this case in the beginning because, like I said, it was a missing person from Rocky Mount. So back then, Rocky Mount's investigators and the Nash County Sheriff's Office investigators worked it to where they didn't have any more leads. And then tragedy strikes again for this family because 7 years later, some guys just riding four-wheelers out in the woods, less than a mile from where her skull was located, ended up finding the rest of her remains 7 years later.
Was this close to Browntown Road? Do I remember? No.
It was on Browntown Road, not far from Red Oak Road.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay.
And so the family's asked us to reopen this. And once again, Partnerships has helped us a tremendous amount in this. We reached out to the Department of Insurance. Agent Scott Finch has been helping me with this case. We're just waiting for some tips to come in and some more information to come in so that we can try to get closure in this case.
And that's what it's about, Lieutenant. Is closure for families. That's the reason we do this. Families deserve closure in these cases.
And then the only other missing person case open that we have is, of course, Travis Lynch was 21 years old when he went missing on Christmas Eve 2003 down in the Middlesex area. The strange thing about this case is that we have not found Travis, or we hadn't found a vehicle that he was supposedly operating, and which is unusual. I mean,
Yes.
usually you find a car.
You'll usually finally
but
find
you
the
can't-
car at
right.
least.
But we hadn't found the car or him. Major Missy Strickland gets calls all the time from his mom, Jackie. Jackie calls me sometimes, just wanting us to make sure that we're still trying to follow up with whatever leads we can get in this case. Because, she's been dealing with this a long time. And not only is it tough, but that her child is missing and been missing for all these years, but it was Christmas. So
every Christmas, what do you think she thinks about?
And it's tough on her, and I can't even speculate on what she goes through every year at Christmas, knowing that her child went missing right here at Christmas, which is supposed to be a time of celebration and happy and spend time with family.
Right.
And she has to go through this every year, knowing that we are still trying to find leads and information to find her son.
It's one thing, and it's still bad when you find the body and whatever, but when the body is not found, it's just tragedy for the family. Where is my loved one? There's one case here in Rocky Mount. The mother is 90-some years old.
Right.
She said, my daughter, the swimming pool case.
Linda Lawrence.
Well, you know.
I do.
That good. But anyway, her mother just says, I just want to know before I die. I'm in my 90s. I just want to know where my daughter, where her body is. Bring her home. And it's terrible.
And I hate to speak for that lady, but I'm sure with her being 90-some years old, she's not even worried about who gets arrested.
Right.
She just wants to lay her daughter to rest before
exactly.
And somebody knows something about that case. And if you don't do it for law enforcement, do it for the right reasons of giving family closure. This lady is 90 and she's lived her life knowing that her daughter's missing and she can't lay her to rest. We were fortunate in Nash County to where we were able to give Deborah Deans' parents mother closure. Right. She had been missing for 15 years, and we were able to find her in the backyard of a residence outside of Spring Hope. And and I've said this before in the show, when you go and give that kind of information to a family member, it's a whole lot different than any other time that you work in law enforcement, because they're so grateful, they're thankful, they know that this time they get to lay their family member to rest.
Right.
And it's just a huge burden lifted off of them, even though they know that now they may have to go to a trial and deal with whoever's been arrested for whatever happened. But it's the closure part that they've been looking for so long, and it's just a completely different feeling when you get to give them that kind of closure than it is when you have to inform them that something's happened.
Absolutely. So let's go over the names again. Travis Lynch, Randy
Colgrove, Jaleel Evans, and Letitia McNair.
If you know anything about those cases at all, please call the Nash County Sheriff's Department. You can talk to Lieutenant Sherrod. 406-6736 is the hotline. It will be anonymous. Nobody will know except who you're talking to. It will be anonymous. So please call. You can get paid. You can make a little cash, up to $15,000, and you will get paid immediately. We talked about, with the board, we talked about when do we pay out? Is it upon conviction?
No.
We said no. That takes too long. People won't be interested.
Right.
So we pay out as soon as they are arrested. It's upon arrest. This is so different than a lot of other rewards. So I encourage you to please call the numbers. So thank you,
yes, ma'am,
Lieutenant, for being here this morning. Great
show.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We learned a lot this morning about the trial, and then about, again, reminding us of the cases that are still outstanding in Nash County. I'll tell you, I have to commend you. 4 cases in a county that size is pretty good.
We stay busy. It's just a reflection on Sheriff Stone. He's wide open, so he expects us to be wide open.
Absolutely.
And we are, and we go at it. In the Lynn and Keel case, we were working 16, 17-hour days, and coming right back to work the next day, and we did that for a solid week.
I guess I just don't know that much about it because I'm not in law enforcement, but I said, he's got a good team that'll show up this morning in court, And lo and behold, who gets in the elevator with me? Keystone.
Exactly.
I said, well, he's here too.
Exactly. He wouldn't have missed that for anything.
No, he's always hands-on.
He is.
He's always there. Very out in the public. Y'all do, and I do have to commend y'all. Y'all do a lot of things for, you've got the Halloween thing coming
We did a
up.
Halloween thing. We just did a hot dog event with Councilman Walker. We did a hot dog event where we gave away book bags at the sheriff's office. I mean, we try to get it out in the public. We just don't want people to see us when something bad happens.
Right.
So we try to get out in public. And one of Sheriff Stone's goals now is to try to get school resource officers in every school.
Oh gosh, that would be wonderful.
It will. So hopefully, we can propose that to the school board and to the county commissioners, and that get approved. So
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of things. Well, he's got a lot of things that he wants to get done, and so we're just chucking away at it.
And I saw that y'all had the Duncan booth in
Yes,
Spring
we
Hope
did.
at the Pumpkin Festival.
And I'm glad I went in it.
I was going to say now, where were you?
I worked it that night.
I would have really paid big bucks.
I'm sure you would have, and
I
I'm
would
glad I missed it. So thank you.
So anyway, I'm sure you are. Well, thank you, and we'll see you the 1st of next month.
Yes, ma'am.
Unless
Thank
we
you.
bring you back.
That'd be fine.
If something big happens. We hope not.
We hope not.
But anyway, we'll see you on the other side, guys. Tomorrow morning, it will be Wayne and Fred tomorrow morning by Zoom. Robbie's going to be out tomorrow, so you'll get to see Fred and Wayne tomorrow. So make it a great day, everybody.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.